move to US, so will UK is importing from US? Because no, why? Because US products looks more expensive to UK. So what happened here? Inside UK, the demand would be greater than supply. For example, we just take one product. For example, we take perfumes. And US buy more perfumes from because it's more cheaper because they have inflation over there. So what happened? In UK, perfumes quantity decreases, all right? And what happened? Prices of perfume start rising. The UK government will see this scenario and will say that what happened here? We didn't do anything. The price of perfume was the same, but what happened? Suddenly, demand for perfume started rising, and they were selling in black markets or whatsoever. Why? Because many production of perfumes are going to the US, while people are not importing US perfumes because they are more expensive. So in this case, prices of the perfume in UK also start rising. So do you see some relationship here and here in US and UK inflation? Do you see some kind of relationship? Yes. Why? Because in fixed exchange rate system, if in one country inflation rises, so not only in that country inflation rises, it also exports its inflation to other country as well. Let's just see this example here for further clarification. So assume there are only two countries and they follow fixed exchange rate system. So if in United States we have a much higher inflation than the United Kingdom, US consumers should buy more goods from UK and British consumers should reduce their imports from US. This reaction would force the production downward in US and unemployment up. All right, when US is not exporting goods because there are only two countries. So over there, unemployment rises, production decreases because they have less thing to export to UK. So it could also cause higher inflation in United Kingdom due to excessive demand of British goods relative to supply of the British goods produced. So US people are buying more UK goods. So in UK, the demand started rising as compared to supply. Thus, inflation in United States causes higher inflation in UK as well. So this what happened in mid and late 1960s. United States experienced relatively high inflation and was accused of exporting the inflation to some European countries. All right. So in 1960, there was a fixed exchange rate system, and what happened? The inflation in US exported to European countries. Aramina, Tiffany, you understand?
Yeah.
The same. So in mid and late 90s, 1960s, the United States experienced relatively high inflation and was accused of exporting this inflation to some European countries. Okay, the second one is freely floating exchange rate system. Freely floating exchange rate system. Exchange rates are determined by market forces without government intervention, which means government does not control any currency movement or any currency. So government say that this is not my department of managing exchange rate. My department is to manage the country, and that's it. So this financial market or this exchange rate market, I'm not, this forex market, I'm not responsible. So this is called freely floating exchange rate system, where demand and supply meets together and price is decided. So in a freely floating exchange rate system, the exchange rate adjusts on continual basis in response to demand and supply condition for that currency. So in one day, the price can go up as high, can even go down as low as possible because demand and supply. All right. What are the advantages of freely floating system? Country is more insulated from inflation of other countries. The biggest drawback of fixed exchange rate system is gone, where one country exports its inflation to other country, so that is gone. So the benefit of having freely floating exchange rate system is that country is saved from inflation of other countries. Number two, country is more insulated from unemployment of other countries. If in other countries the unemployment rises, so you don't have to be worried about that because your country is safe. All right. How we will see the example. Plus, it does not require central bank to maintain exchange rate with specific boundaries. So government should not, or government is free from setting up any central bank and any other stuff. So let the market decide, and that's it. So this is a saving of government worries. Government can put their energies in some other sectors if it's freely floating system. So advantages example, here we go. So let's continue with our previous example where there is only two countries, and but one thing is that now they are following freely floating system. So what is freely floating system? Its currencies move according to their demand and supply without any government intervention. So if the United States experiences high rate of inflation, the increase in US demand for British goods will place upward pressure on the value of the British pound. All right. So what we are trying to say here, where if US inflation rises, all right. So US will import more goods from UK, which causes UK which also causes demand for pound increases because they need to sell their dollars into pound. They demand more pound to pay for UK suppliers. So pound exchange rate or price of pound start rising. All right. Until the US people will see that, okay, it's more expensive, so we are not buying it. Let's buy our own house or our own home products. So country is safe from any kind of extra inflation that US is importing or accused of importing in UK because exchange rate adjusts itself. Now, as a second consequence of the high US inflation, the reduced demand for US goods will result its reduced supply of pound for sale, which also place upward pressure on the value of the British pound. The pound will appreciate due to these market forces. So this appreciation will make British goods more expensive for US consumer, even though British producers did not raise their prices. All right. So these higher prices will simply due to the pound's appreciation. So that is a greater number of US dollars are required to buy the same number of pound as before. So simple, that argument in which we talked about in our earlier lectures, if inflation rises, that country's currency go down. So if inflation rises in US, US currency go down, pound appreciates. So whether it's a 10 pound product, wait a second, whether it is a 10 pound product, so British person will receive 10 pound, but the US person will pay more dollars because of exchange rate. So in that case, one country is saved from the high inflation of other country. Now, disadvantages of freely floating system. Number one, can adversely affect a country that has high unemployment. If you have a high unemployment, and you are following the freely floating exchange rate system, then the effects are worse. Plus, can adversely affect country with high inflation. So look at what happened in Zimbabwe. All right. So they are now announcing that we will be following the gold standard. So I think one bag of or 1 pound or I think 500 gram of bread is cost, I think 10 million of their Zimbabwe currency. So huge amount of inflation is over there right now. But now they have changed the system. I don't know what's the latest condition over there, but previously they are experiencing the hyperinflation and hyper unemployment. So the examples are the same. We have two countries, UK and US. So now if the US experiencing high inflation, the dollar may weaken, thereby insulating the UK from inflation. All right. So that country which experience inflation, its currency go down. If US experience high inflation, its currency its currency depreciation will be also higher, right? But look at from US perspective. However, a weaker US dollar causes import prices to be higher. All right. So if its currency go down, imports look more unfavorable, more expensive. So this can increase the prices of US material and supplies, which will in turn increases the US prices of finished goods. In addition, higher foreign prices can force US consumer to purchase domestic products. Number one, we are insulated from higher inflation, but what happened to the own country which is experiencing high inflation? Over there, cost of material is also higher because inflation is higher. So that country will be in a loop of inflation. So that inflation will remain there for a number of periods. Plus, a US producer recognized that their foreign competitors has been reduced due to a weaker dollar. They can more easily raise their prices without losing the customer of foreign competition. Plus, in US, so when they see that the value of the pound increases, so people cannot afford the imported goods, so they also increases the price because raw material also increases, and now they intentionally increases the price because you don't have any other options, in which customers are also exploited because of less competition. All right. So every system has its own merits and demerits. So here comes a managed floating exchange rate system in which the government controls somehow small, governments, manage it. not control it, manage it. So governments sometimes intervene to prevent their currencies from moving too far in certain directions. So this type of system is